It's Terry Joyce. I'm getting ready to broadcast the show. Just doing some social networking right now. It's about 10 minutes before showtime. So just kind of like, I don't know. I'm going to pull my chair up a little closer here. Welcome to the live broadcast behind the scenes of Hollywood Hemptress Hour. I also Ustream it from my Ustream channel just because so much happens behind. A lot of the guests get really into their conversations and the discussion of the topics that we're talking about, as well as Casper Leach, who also owns the Time for Hemp Network. You get to hear him speak candid behind the scenes, and as well as be on the show as well too. And I like showing it. I think it's interesting. I feel that we're making history here by being the first all 24-hour Time for Hemp radio, reaching to all parts of the world, spreading the message that, we can live differently and have different kinds of medicine if we choose to. We can run our cars on hemp oil. We can build our homes differently. We can be planet friendly and sustain ourselves in ways that are there for us, and the only reason that they're not there for us is there's some greedy corporate people. So, anyway, I'm getting started here. That's nice. Ludovica was on the show recently, and she is doing a fundraiser for something called GoFundMe. It's actually a friend of hers that has Lou Gehrig's disease, and she was just on the show recently. She talked about it, and she says, thank you to all my fabulous friends who raised $23,000 for saving Carmela's home and GoFundMe. They still have a long way to go. Can you please share with your friends? Maybe we can help reach their goal by Christmas. Blessings, Ludo. And, she put this on my timeline because, it's something that she plugged on the show as well. And then I wrote, thank you for posting, Ludovica, what an angel you are. And she posted, takes an angel to know one. Love you, baby. And so, and if you know Ludo, like, she'll go, love your baby. I mean, she has like, baby, everything's like, we're going to smoke some pot, baby. I mean, that's Ludo. She was just on the show. She was like within the first week of guests, and we are definitely going to have her. Now, actually, she was in the second week of guests, and we're definitely going to have her back on a regular basis. I really just think she's fabulous. Well, you know what? We're about to start here in just a few minutes. Casper should be calling me any minute now. We're about 7 minutes from showtime starting. So I'll just wait here for a second to see what happens. But we're definitely about to start, which is always exciting. Let me see. Let's see. I am broadcasting behind the scenes. Hollywood Hemptress Hour. Right now. We launch on the Time for Hemp Network. In 6 minutes. Yay! Okay. All right. Almost time. Oh, there we go. Hello?
Hello?
Good. How are you?
It's been a very difficult day today.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Kevin, Corn. Is Kevin gonna be on Skype or phone?
He should be on Skype.
Hello.
There he is. That's Northblatt. Hey.
Hey, Terry.
Hello.
See, contacts. Oh man.
And then we have, we've got King David Mackenzie again. So, huh?
I'm calling him now. He's liable to answer, so it'll be nice.
Okay. Okay.
Give you a heads up. Hello.
Hey, David.
Yeah, how am I sounding?
You sound great.
Oh, good. Okay. That helps.
Awesome. All right, you made it. This is good. We've got Kevin with us. We got Northblatt with us. We're ready to rock and roll.
Hi, Kevin. Hey, buddy. Hi, Kevin. Northblatt, I don't think I've conversed with you before, have I? I don't think so.
No, we have not. We have yet to converse, Dave. How you doing?
Just a couple of quick Facebook messages. That's about it. Online, yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, at least tonight I am awake.
That's better than some of us.
Well,
Let's put it this way. I'm awake. I don't know, but necessarily conscious. David, is that how you start out most of your sexual encounters? Think I'm awake. Not really, but
Mine are usually I'm awake, but I'm not normally conscious.
well, the little king might be more awake than I am. See, you got a little king. I've got a big queen between my legs. Shit. God damn, motherfucker. Nothing about me is little but my attitude, bitch. If you think so yourself, yeah.
nothing's little but my attitude, bitch. I'm gonna write that one down.
Better back up, honey, because I'm not quite sure how big this is gonna get. Yeah, right, sure. Now every boyfriend I've ever dated starts out saying that shit. I'm gonna be going live here in just about 3 minutes. Okay, Terry, you don't have anything special, so I'll find some kind of groovy, funny song or cool song to play after the second break on the first hour. Is that
Well,
cool?
I did send you a little comedy clip through the
She said you wanted to play that on the second hour.
Yeah, I don't have anything on the first hour.
That's what you said, so I said
Yeah.
I'll try to find it. When do you want to play it?
I'm sorry, I'm a little retarded right now. Yeah, I mean, if you want to play it, do you,
Now. No, I'm sorry, what?
do you, if you want to play it on the second, after the second break, or do you want me to announce it? I mean, what do you think?
How about I find a cool song like I usually do to play after the second break, and you just walk into it.
Okay, that sounds good.
And
Yeah.
after I find it, I'll let you know the name of it, who it is, like I usually do.
Okay.
I'll listen to your conversation and see if I can find something clever to include that would pertain to what you're all talking about.
Okay, cool.
Just don't talk about vaginas and douchebags.
Okay, all right.
That will limit me.
What? No vagina stuff? Come on now.
No vaginas. I got a lot of great stuff on dicks, but nothing on vaginas. I had the song My Enormous Peanuts.
Oh,
Take a look at my enormous peanuts. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that.
Oh my God, it's fucking awesome. It's by Da Vinci's Code. While I'm creating load you up on YouTube and find Da Vinci's Code, My Enormous Penis.
Oh my God! I totally want. I want to hear the enormous penis one.
Oh, it's done in 3-part harmony. I'll see if I can find it playing on the break.
Yeah, let's go with the penis.
All right.
It's time for some big cock tonight.
All right. Let's see. Tara Joy.
By any chance, do you have any old stuff from the Thugs?
No, they do sound familiar.
The Thugs. Didn't they sing Monster
Coca-Cola
Bash?
Douche. Coca-Cola Douche was one of the tunes that they did. Boobs a Lot.
Oh, there's boobs a lot. I remember you like your boobs a lot. They probably did jock a lot too, then, didn't they?
Huh?
They did jock a lot. Do you wear your jock a lot? Yes, I wear my jock.
That's the second verse of the tune. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The Holy Modal Rounders remade it later on, and that's the version that wound up getting played a lot on Dr. Demento's show.
All right, I think I'm going to have to play the Enormous Penis song tomorrow. I can't find it, but we're going to start here. If I can find it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, for sure.
Must not be that ginormous.
Oh, by the way, Kevin, our video got 121 views already.
Nice.
Yeah, of the anonymous protest.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, I think it's only been 24 hours.
Well, I did post it on every.
Hello.
I did post it on the anonymous site that I can find.
Oh, cool. I haven't been able to go through mine yet because I had to work today for 8 hours, and I don't want to be wimpy about it.
Okay, I'm hitting my live button. And
Okay.
When you hear the music, you know we've gone live, and when it stops, you know to chalk.
Okay.
Imagine a town where there are no small joints, just small stoners, where Kush is a girl's best friend, and law breaking is the new liberty. It's the Hollywood Hemptress Hour, hosted by your honey blonde Hemptress, Terry Joyce.
Hello, welcome to Hollywood Hemptress Hour. This is the time for Hemp Network, and you're listening to iHeartRadio.com. I'm Terry Joyce. I'm your host. In studio today, I just have my friends here. What I love about doing this show is I love nothing more than just smoking some weed and sitting back and having in-depth conversations with some of my closest and favorite people in my life. And today, I have Kevin Korn from Hardcore Entertainment, also producer and cast member of Trips, as well as North Flat Forsgren. I think I'm getting it down now, North Flat. I've got it. And from Trips, and also cast member, producer. Welcome to the show. Thank you for co-hosting with me tonight.
Well, thank you for having us.
And it's great to have you here too, Kevin. How do you feel after the anonymous protest yesterday? Are you tired or sore or?
Tired.
Yeah.
I am tired. I slept all day, got up, didn't really feel good, so I ended up going to the movie theater, because those usually make me feel better sitting in movies. Came home, went back to sleep, and here I am.
Yeah. Protesting is kind of exhausting. Yeah, I mean, I remember, I always had this fantasy of protesting, and I feel like I sort of missed the revolution, because being the 60s happened, and I was I don't want to say how old I was, but I was alive in the 60s, and it seemed like there was this big dead period of no social unrest. I mean, we were the Clinton administration and Reagan, and we were all loving Wall Street and everything. And then all of a sudden, Occupy happened. I'm like, oh my God, this is my moment. But I got to say that you got to be careful. You've got to be in shape to protest, and you don't want to wear a heavy backpack or anything like that. Because after blocks and blocks and blocks of walking, I finally just went, oh my God, when is this going to be over with? So I took a cab back to the encampment. Is that wrong?
The worst part was we were not only there, as an activist, but we were also there, as kind of like press, like to get pictures and video and talk to people, and which means that we got to be constantly moving twice as fast as the actual herd of people, because we got to like guess where they're going and get up a block ahead of them, and then get back in, and then get ahead of them, and get back in, and then fall behind, and then jump in front of them. So you're like working twice as hard. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? Energetically, I think the energy of what's happening. I mean, I think I know that I'm affected by my surroundings. If it feels like there might be violence happening, if it is emotionally charged, and there's a lot of people that have that kind of emotionally charged feeling to them, and it can be exhausting the next day after you've experienced it. I mean, no matter how you look at it, like if you're hearing helicopters in the sky, and there's all this, you're kind of like you got to have your heart pounding a little bit, going, I might have to run. I might be arrested today. Something could, a riot might break out. That feeling of danger, and also the anxiety of everybody else, I find is exhausting. I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels that way, but I know that in terms of activism, or even just like doing activism work, and camping out at a particular, like, say you do occupy, you camp out, you protest, that's all, like, you have to be in pretty good physical condition to actually really deal with it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And at the time, because you're so, like you're saying, you're so charged, you don't even feel it. Like I didn't feel it. I was still amped last night. But finally, by the time I went to sleep, and then I woke up. When I woke up, I was just physically and energetically just drained.
Well, there's a little bit of a, there's definitely also a little bit of a high to it. I mean, I think that you have a rush. It takes a while to come down, to process everything that's happening. I feel that when I participated in being in Occupy LA, it was just this whole experience that that I feel changed in having done. And also the people that I shared it with, I feel that we have a certain kind of bond between each other. Like, there's some of the people that I've actually was participated in Occupy LA, I'm still friends with them online. I had a romance at Occupy LA. I mean, I was invited to a lot of different tents, and I'm sorry, not to brag, but sometimes it's cold, and like, okay, or you don't have a tent, so you're kind of like scrounging around, hey, can I stay in your tent? But what was interesting about the Los Angeles encampment was that there was a lot of weed smoking going on. I mean, a lot of weed. And what was interesting is that you would see people be arrested for open containers. And I go, why are those guys getting arrested? And they go, oh, they had booze, they had open containers, but nobody got arrested for marijuana. It didn't matter. They didn't, care if you were a patient or not. I mean, there were rallies there with like Richard Eastman and Melissa Ballin and a lot of Patrick Moore, who Melissa Ballin and Patrick Moore are big time hemp and marijuana people. Melissa Ballin worked with Jack Hare. She's also a documentary filmmaker, and they did this big, they gave away like I don't know how many grams. They just threw them into the crowd. I was not there that day because I was doing a benefit for Lynette Shaw in Marin County, because she was being sued by the IRS. She had one of the longest standing medical marijuana dispensaries in Marin County, I think the first, and the IRS went after her, and that's a whole nother subject. We got to get Lynette on the show, actually. But now that I'm rambling about that, I'm just like bringing in like the marijuana influence that actually existed, and how nobody was touched by participating in it or giving it away to one another, which to me that's kind of ironic, being that there's such a fight in Southern California to keep the dispensaries open. It's just interesting to me. And then
there was quite the same thing was here, though. I know that I had been down to the Occupy a few days out of the couple months that they were down there. I had some buddies that were actually living living in tents down there. So,
Uh-huh.
but it was one of the coolest experiences I had at Occupy was sitting on a park bench with my buddy Johnny, and we're rolling up a doobie, and there's fucking 3 or 4 cops walk behind us and actually mentioned something about the size of the joint, and didn't do a damn thing. They just kept walking, snickering on about the size of the joint that we were rolling. But we saw people getting arrested all day long. I don't think anybody got arrested for pot.
Yeah, no, they got arrested for pot at our encampment. Nobody. And matter of fact, there was a marijuana plant growing on the city hall property, and I wish I could have seen. I wish it would last longer to, come to fruition. I mean, just kind of funny to think of a marijuana plant right on city hall, But
We did that to Astoria one year, right after school. Gosh, it must have been my junior year, probably. Right in there. The day after school got out for the summer, we went in and planted seeds all over Astoria, including in front of the city hall, all over downtown. They were everywhere, and I don't know. It took them a good year and a half to find them all, but they eventually did.
yeah, it's interesting how you can disguise a plant somewhere and not have people really notice it for a while, which is interesting.
I'm not sure a majority of people know what they actually look like growing,
Uh-huh.
Because, most people that I know that have seen, I've never really seen, I'm sure they've seen somebody's, home plant, you know what I'm saying? But if it's like a home plant and it's being well maintained, it looks like, it looks a lot different than when you find one on the side of the road.
Yeah.
It looks like a completely different plant. And so I assume most people don't know what they're looking at or what they're looking for, because if they did, I think you'd see it a lot more often than you think. I know when I lived in Nebraska, they have pot growing everywhere. In ditches, on the side of the road, on the sides of the highways, just everywhere. It's
Ditchweed.
that's where the term ditchweed came from.
Well, now how is that happening?
It's along the railroad lines.
And
The railroad lines, the train cars would go by full of hemp seed, and when they'd go by, they'd rattle, they'd lose some hemp seed along the way, and there's literally miles and miles and miles, thousands of miles of hemp growing in the United States right now. It just doesn't get cultivated.
oh, now is this hemp seed or is this actual marijuana?
Don't let it fool you.
Yeah, don't let it fool you. I mean, it's budding hemp is what it is. Because I remember on Mag Crew, I remember pulling over, flipping out with my whole crew, about finding the mother lode of fucking pot, gardens, just miles and miles of pot for all you could see. And we all flipped out, and we got all our clothes tied the legs of our pants, closed and whatnot, and hopped out and started filling up as much stuff as we could with buds, that made you so sick when you smoked it.
Why? Why did it make you sick?
It didn't have THC in it. It was essentially just a female hemp plant.
Okay.
So here's my catch-22 on this, because I ran into tons of this same pot in Nebraska, and it will get you high. There is THC in it. It's just not a lot, and it takes a lot of it. Here's the thing.
It's kind of like near beer.
I've seen them tell me that hemp plants don't contain THC, right? And that they're 2 separate plants. And then I've looked at it a lot closer, and I've looked at it, and according to scientists, that's not exactly true. According to science, they actually do contain THC. However, that's not why they are kept separate and illegal. So.
There are other plants. There's other strains and whatnot that are much higher THC.
Right.
And the amount of THC that's in ditchweed isn't enough to even fuck with, really.
No, and it tastes like crap. But I mean, it's everywhere, and if you really wanted to, if you were to take the time and trim it and take care of it, you could at least cook with it, and make edibles or something. But that's about it. You would have to take it all out, But other than that, yeah, there's no point in smoking it because it's mainly needs to be cultivated for hemp purposes. Hemp stuff.
Well, let me tell you, this sour alien, this ain't fucking cultivated for hemp purposes right here.
Yeah, right.
Wait, you're smoking sour alien?
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Is it? I mean, what is it? Is it good? I mean, what is it? A sativa or a hybrid or an indica? What?
Well, as far as I can tell, it's an indica.
Uh-huh.
And very tasty, very heady, very, very nice, very nice.
Oh man, I wish I had some. I'm jealous right now.
Oh, I'm still, Terry, I still have that shit pot that I had last week.
Oh my God, I still have some of that too.
All right. Do you think that? I mean, here's one question I want to ask about the Nebraska weed. Do you think it's the hemp that seeds that fell out when World War II had hemp, or time for hemp? When they legalized it for the war.
At this point, they could have came from anywhere because of how pollination works. They could have been. The seeds could have been planted, years ago in a different state, and just because through pollination in the wind and gotten where they've ended up. So I really don't know how the original seeds were planted, but I can tell you that the plants survived. Even if you went out and pulled all those plants, the plant through pollination survived and found other places where it would grow and thrive, and it still does to this day.
Yeah, I could very well have been Lewis and Clark's fucking nuggets,
Right? Yeah, Lewis and Clark. Sacagawea might have left it behind. We don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess it could have come from way, way before and just stayed in the earth and kept reproducing, and everybody went, a couple of hemp plants. Maybe people just went by and go, it's dirt weed. No, there's nothing here, nothing to worry about here.
Pretty much.
It's funny that when you look at all the old shit about the forefathers, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and whatnot, they not only talked about using the hemp plant for purposes such as rope and clothing and whatnot, but they did say they smoked of the hemp plant. That George Washington used to say one of his favorite things was to sit on his porch and look out across his land of hemp while smoking from the same plant that made him so much happiness during the day.
Oh, how beautiful.
But I did see How High, and the end of that movie told me Ben Franklin made the first bomb.
Well, on that, we'll be right back. We need to take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
My name is Angel Rage.
Okay, we're at break. You can chat among yourselves, and I did find the enormous penis song.
Yay!
Okay. I will be able to play that on the second break.
Nice.
And then I got a full song for this break by Chief Greenbud called A Friend with Weed is a Friend Indeed.
Yay.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
You want to listen to it?
Sure.
All right. And then you just come on in and then you just start talking when you get done playing it. Is that cool?
Okay.
So since it's a 3 minutes, it's a 2-minute song, and we're doing a 1-minute commercial. I'll just go ahead and make that your whole break this time. Is that cool?
Okay. Am I gonna have like intro music back into the show, or do I just go in after that particular song?
You just go in after that particular song.
Okay.
Here it comes.
Yeah.
There are times when the whole damn town is dry, and the stash you saved for summer didn't make it to July. I know it feels like forever till the harvests of September. So if you need to catch a buzz, you're welcome anytime. 'Cause a friend with weed is a friend indeed. You don't have to drink your bowl, soak on stems and seeds. I'll share my sack, I've got your back. do the same for me, don't you agree? That a friend with weed is a friend indeed. You'd be surprised how many folks smoke pot. No teachers, doctors, lawyers, hell, even new ones stay cop. When they burn their last ones down and their dealers can't be found, you know that they'll call on me, 'cause I'll share what I've got. 'Cause a friend with weed is a friend indeed. You don't have to scrape your bowl or smoke on stems and seeds. I'll share my sack, I got your back. You do the same for me, don't you agree? That a friend with weed is a friend indeed. Yeah, a friend with weed is a friend indeed. That's right.
That was Chief Greenbud. You're going live now.
That was Chief Greenbud here on Hollywood Hempress Hour Show on the Time for Hemp Network. We're back from that break, and a friend with weed is a friend indeed. And that's a nice, you know, I don't know if any girls out there notice, you know, when if you smoke weed that, you know, if you have a one-night stand, did you ever have a guy just leave a little nugget on your bedpost or on your bed, on your bed? Like, it seems like it's like instead of getting a flower or whatever, you get like a little bud. And not saying it has to be a one-night stand, it could just be like a lover. Like, a lot of my lovers just would leave me little nuggets of weed, and you know, that made me feel happy, and I smoked it, and I said, this is my love sex weed. Anyway, you know, thank you for listening to me relish my love sex weed. Actually, I would really like to have some love sex weed. Anyway, welcome back to the show. Kevin Korn from Hardcore Entertainment is co-hosting with me, as well as Northblatt Forsgren. Both of them are producers and cast members of Trips, and we do a Trips After Hour show starting after Hollywood Hempress Hour, and also we have a group on Facebook. So we trip to Trips so you don't have to, right? Is that how it goes, Kevin?
That's about it right there. You got it.
Okay, all right. That's I thought I had it. I love that. Well, that's like we trip to Trip so you don't have to. So in studio today, we have a man who has worked in broadcasting and radio, and we became friends on Facebook. Facebook brings a lot of people together, and you know, you kind of find that you sort of have common interests, you know, like-mindedness, you know, and a lot of that has to do surround this beautiful cannabis plant that we're doing a show about. And I want to welcome to the show King David McKenzie. So welcome to the show, David.
And a good morning to all. Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome.
I'm actually awake for this one.
Yeah, we did try to have him on a previous show, and I believe it was like last Friday. And, you know, this is a 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. broadcast, but, you know, and not to say that this hasn't been challenging on me, or Northblatt, or Kevin Korn. You know, it's almost like all of a sudden your life, like your hour shifts, so you're actually living your life differently, and different hours completely. Like, you know, 4 in the morning is your afternoon, which is kind of weird. But I'm still not normal from it. You know, I've had a few. I think I've had a few physical issues over it. I'm very, very cranky. But I know that this transition is possible. I have noticed though that my cat is now also becoming more and more nocturnal. Like, he knows mommy like stays up all night now, and so he's ready to greet me when I get done with the show, which is great.
Look, I've been sleeping in shifts.
Uh-huh.
I sleep in 2 to 3 hour shifts, the way my schedule's set up. Unfortunately, you know, those 2 or 3 hour shifts are during my job here at Rent RV, but but that's all right, you know.
Right. Well, I'm actually working a part-time job just between everything and doing stand-up and this, and so it's just like everything just seems to be flowing all at once. Like I'm talking on the phone, but I'm talking to future guests and social networking at the same time, and it's crazy. But one of the things that I had happen to me at work today actually coincides with this subject matter, what we're talking about, and one of the issues was healthcare. And there's a nonprofit in Oregon that is working on cutting the waste of cost on healthcare and making it so. So that we don't have super inflated prices. And she was ill and sick and on Medicaid. And because she was on Medicaid, she said that the house that she bought and paid for taxes and still pays taxes on, that when she passes away, because of the fact that she didn't have insurance and got ill, and then she couldn't qualify for insurance, for regular insurance, because she had a pre-existing condition, so she had to go on Medicaid. And now, when she dies, her house belongs to them. It belongs to her debtors in the healthcare industry. And it was so disheartening to me today that I actually cried on the phone. Not to her. I didn't bawl to her. Go, oh my God, it's so terrible. What fuckers? I didn't say that to her. But I like.
Is she in?
What?
What state is she in?
She's in Oregon. I think she might have been in Washington. She was either in Washington or Oregon. She was in Washington.
As a nationally certified credit counselor,
Uh-huh.
that's not even legal.
Really?
So,
Yeah, there is no debtor's prison.
Those are unsecured debts. They can't threaten to take something from you to pay off your debt that has nothing to do with the debt. The only thing they can take from you is whatever you have that was the secured debt. So let's say if you buy a car and you owe money on the car, when you give them the car back, right, if you still owe money on the car, they can threaten you, they can put it on your credit report, but they can't physically come take anything else from you to collect on that bill. They already took the car.
Well, but here's the thing. I remember in California, I thought I saw something where, because I took care of an elderly woman who was on Medicare and Medicaid, and I thought there was something where they could take your assets later on. It's not the first time I've seen something like that.
Here's the thing. Not even really after you die. What'll end up happening is she can leave the house to somebody, right? Or she can have a will. She can will everything out, but somebody will be in charge of the will. You have to place somebody in charge of the will, right?
Unless it goes into probate.
Right. And unless she doesn't leave it to anybody and it goes into probate. But if she has a will and she leaves it with an executor of the will, the bill companies will come after that executor and say, you got to pay off these bills. And then that person can either choose whether the house is worth more than her bills or not, and the executor can make the decision to sell the house and put it towards that, or to pay for funeral costs, that sort of thing.
Yeah, but is that state to state, or is that on a federal level?
That's on a federal level. That was done in I believe it might have been 1987. It's the Fair Trade Act.
So basically, I cried for nothing. Like she wasn't losing her house.
Right, unless she's already.
Damn, I should have asked her for contribution. No, I'm kidding.
Somebody.
This wonderful dictator that we have right now has changed a lot of things about this country over the last 6 years. Where right now, 6 years ago, I knew what the laws were. Right now, I don't know if fucking up is down, fucking left is right. Shit. As far as I know, and from what I've heard over the last couple months, it's federally illegal to fucking protest. You can get federal charges for being in a fucking protest and speaking over a certain decibel level. I'm probably talking too loud right now. I could get federally fucking charged.
Federally, I have the state charge for that out of Arizona for raising my voice in a threatening manner in my own home.
See?
Yeah.
So who fucking knows, I don't doubt it one fucking bit that they're trying to fucking take her shit.
Well,
I wouldn't doubt it one fucking bit. They will tell you whatever the fuck they want to
They can't just legally take it.
Well, they said after she died, she was not allowed to give it.
Over and over again.
she said after she died, she wasn't allowed to like leave it in her will to her children, that it was going to go to them because of the bills that that they now owned her assets after her death. That and she this now I remember it's the state of Washington. She says, "Honey, where do you live at?" And she goes, "I'm in Washington." And I go, I live in Washington," and she was telling me that's what happened to her. I mean,
I'm gonna have to look into that because
look into it because I'd like to bring it back on the show because regardless, I mean, if that's the level that this goes to in terms of what our healthcare system has been doing to us, that makes me, I mean, to me, I feel like it just hurts me to think about that, to think that we are so uncaring about people, and that it's so like a business still rather than healing people, which, again, bringing it back to marijuana, this plant has been healing people. It does heal people. People, it cures cancer, and it gives us a sense of well-being when we feel like we're ill, and it brings a sense of euphoria when we feel depressed or we have sickness. And it seems like it's such a struggle to live out of the system in which we are continually being imposed upon. And that to the point of I'm having, is it true or not true? I don't know. I like to know the real facts, but this is how it feels like when we talk about having freedom. It's like, well, let's have the freedom to heal our bodies the way we want to, and not have to go into debt and have our family go into debt over it. She goes, "This is a house that I bought, I paid for it, it's mine, I worked it off, I own it. Why shouldn't that be part of the lineage of their family passed on?" As I mean, if they live, why couldn't you have that be a part of someone's dowry? Yes, you want to marry me? I've got a house. I have a house. I mean, anyway, I got a little bit distracted on that. I do want to welcome our guest, King David Mackenzie, to the show. Thank you so much for coming here. You actually have a background in broadcasting and working in radio.
Starting when I was actually 9 years old, I started doing child voices for radio commercials in northeastern Wisconsin for the Shoreway grocery chain, which is between Green Bay and Neenah Menasha.
Oh.
And so actually, pretty much I've been in broadcasting in one form or another for 40 years, and I'm 52 now. So just no.
That's a long time. That's a long.
Do the math.
Well, you definitely have a distinctive voice, and it sounds like you do have a voice for radio. You've got that pattern, that I don't know how to describe it, but you listen to certain people and you go, man, I mean, they just have this radio voice, which is
Actually,
great.
I think it was the voice I heard when they said down against the wall right before the gun went off.
That was Casper Leach.
Yeah.
from time for.
Well, hey, I'll go with that. Sure, it's your experience. Yeah. I've been in broadcasting in one form or another. I started out with the commercials, and then shortly after that, I started recording what are called liners in the business. The announcements of introducing a record or cracking a joke or what have you. I would record them on tape in the United States and then send them over to a pirate radio station in Oxford, England, and they would mix it in with a weekend, mix it in with the popular records in England at that time during a weekend program. This is back when in England, the big acts, a lot of the big acts were like, the Osmonds or, David Cassidy or people, Michael Jackson, all the teenage performers at the time, like the early 1970s. And the radio station said, okay, well, let's get this, let's see if we can, find a teenage disc jockey. And it turned out that somebody associated with the radio station, which was World Music Radio in Oxford, England, had decided to take a trip to America, and one of the places that this individual stopped was the radio station in Menasha, Wisconsin, WNRR, where I was recording the lines for the radio commercials. And we got hooked up that way. And so between 1972 and 1976, I would record in America, in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and in my bedroom, and send it on cassette tape to Oxford, England, and they would mix it in with whatever records that they had on the playlist at the time, by Slade or Susie Quattro or Gary Glitter or some of the glam rock people, T-Rex, that were extremely popular in the UK at the time.
That's interesting.
And
So let me get this. I don't mean to interrupt, but let me get this straight. Somebody said, let's find a teenager. They find you. You start filming in your bedroom, and nobody goes to jail.
and
It's supposed to be UK, man.
No, this was audio tape. This was, no, it wasn't a Super 8 film, no.
I was gonna say, didn't Sam Adams try that once?
This wasn't a Bob Crane operation, no. And so I started it that way, and then I began to do some programs on a volunteer basis for a couple of college radio stations in northeastern Wisconsin, in Oshkosh and Appleton. In Oshkosh at WRST, which is at the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh campus, and at Lawrence University in Appleton at WLFM. Which was the first, in fact, that was the first FM radio station north of Milwaukee. So I was able to do some volunteer work, and in fact, when I was 16 years old, which is 1977, I got into my first taste of repression in relation to playing a record connected with marijuana.
Huh.
It goes back to at that time, of course, that's when the Dr. Demento radio show was beginning to have a lot of success in syndication across the United States and Canada, and it was not aired yet in Oshkosh, in the Oshkosh, in the Appleton Oshkosh market, as it's referred to in the business. But I had heard it when I was visiting with my mother, who lived, and still does, in fact, in Kenosha, Wisconsin, which is halfway between Milwaukee and Chicago. And there were two different radio stations that I was able to pick up the program on in Milwaukee and Chicago out of there. And I decided when I got back to Oshkosh to try to see if I could possibly do a similar program, which was made up more or less of humorous songs, novelty records, pretty much along the same lines of what Dr. Demento was doing in Los Angeles.
We need to take a really quick break, David. I'm going to interrupt here in a moment. I want to get back to the discrimination, too, about the marijuana song. And we'll be right back right after this commercial break.
Okay, this is a Jim Hightower presentation, after which I will be playing my enormous penis on the radio.
Okay.
You want to answer that one.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember Big Daddy Meat Straw?
I love the name.
They were out of Eugene. They were a band here, in a local band. Big Daddy Meat Straw. And they used to sing a song called "My Penis," and it was my penis is bigger than your penis. It was really good. That's what this enormous penis song's kind of giving me the whole, Big Daddy Meat Straw vibe.
This is off the Bob and Tom show. I didn't get a chance to edit anything of the banter out. So, I mean, you're going to hear a little bit of Bob and Tom chatting. It's by Da Vinci's Notebook. They're a funny group of guys. I was driving down the road in Indianapolis when this thing came on, and I literally had to pull the car over. I was laughing so fucking hard. The thing just hit me completely out of the blue. I'm just driving down, all of a sudden I hear this, and I hear the lyrics, and I start laughing. And I just laughed so fucking hard. I did. I had to park the car, and I laid in the front seat and laughed for about 20 minutes. But I'm a guy, so 14-year-old penis jokes just make me fucking laugh all night long.
You know what? Penis jokes still make me laugh. I haven't gotten past it.
We're gonna wrap up the Jim Hightower. You're gonna hear that, and I'm gonna just kick in with my enormous penis for all of you to enjoy.
Awesome.
202-462-5747.
Time for Hemp is an educational tool that can be found in iTunes, on Spreaker, and of course at timeforhemp.com. His Notebook is here with us, a cappella for gentlemen, singers, and we thought we'd get to the big hit.
What hit with that? The biggest hit.
It's a song we stumbled upon, and authored by,
That would be me.
Paul.
Yes, Paul. That, as they say, write what you know.
I was wondering, wow.
That's right.
That's why men sit around and talk.
Yours is big, huh? Rather large.
Well, mine's big. Well, without any further ado, this is the hit. So we're going to get live in the studio. I'm very, very excited to say hello to people listening all over the world. And I don't want you guys to feel any pressure, but people listening literally in every continent, ships at sea tuned in.
That's as long as and all the rest of the Chinese people won't understand what I'm saying.
Here we go.
Whenever life gets you down, keeps you wearing a frown, and the gravy train has left you behind. And when you're all out of hope, down at the end of your rope, and nobody's there to throw you a line. If you ever get so low that you don't know which way to go, come on and take a walk in my shoes. Never worry about a thing, got the world on a string, 'cause I've got the cure for all of his blues. I take a look at my enormous penis, and my troubles start to melt away. I take a look at my enormous penis, and the happy times are coming to stay. I gotta sing and I dance when I glance in my pants. I end up feeling like a sunshiny day. I take a look at my enormous penis, and everything is going my way. Sing along at home, why don't you? 2, 3. I take a look at my enormous penis. It's not that hard. And my troubles start to melt away. Just Bob and Tom. I take a look at my enormous penis, and the happy times are coming to stay. Yeah, I got great big amounts in the place where it counts, and the feeling's like a sunshiny day. I take a look at my enormous penis, and everything is going my way. my Bob and Tom now. Everything is going my way.
Hey, look at these goobers.
Everything is going my way.
Hey, Chihuahua.
That was great. That was "It's My Enormous Penis" by Da Vinci's Notebook. Or that's for all the dictators in the world.
Jerry,
What?
so with the leading out of the enormous penis to kind of stay on, I don't know, maybe it is a different subject or not, but did you see anything in the news today about this lawsuit about this New Mexico guy who got pulled over and anal searched like
No.
different fucking times?
No.
You didn't hear about this?
No.
Southern New Mexico man was pulled over for not making a complete traffic stop
Uh-huh.
and was taken to 2 hospitals and forced to have anal probes, 3 enemas, 2 body x-rays, and a colonoscopy.
What?
This is by the police. And they didn't find shit. Well, they found shit, but
That's all they found,
they
yeah.
didn't find shit, if you know what I mean. And I'm just curious if anybody else heard about this. This was on I'm reading it off Fox News, so, I gotta take it with a grain of salt.
Right.
But,
No, with Fox News, you take it with the entire Morton's packing plant. Not
Okay.
with grains of salt, no.
well, usually in a case like this, they'd be in favor of the cop,
Uh-huh.
But,
Yeah.
But a colonoscopy, that's just really weird. I mean, like, does insurance have to pay for that? I mean, like,
no, and this is
Was he-
the kicker.
what?
The city, the state sent him a $6,000 bill.
Oh, jeez.
What did they...
Sent him a bill for all of it.
I would be pissed. What did they... What do you think that they were searching for? I hope it's not marijuana.
The cop said that when he got out of the car, he was holding himself as if he might be hiding something up his ass. And so,
Yeah, but how far? I mean, come on.
right?
Then you have to, like, well, we didn't find it. Let's give you... I mean, if they said, well, we didn't find it, well, let's give you a colonoscopy, I'd be like, oh, come on. I want my attorney now. That ain't happening.
They stuck their fingers up his ass outside of his car. They had gotten a judge over the phone to give them fucking, access to this guy's ass.
See, that's different. See, if a man in a uniform wants to search my ass, I get a prenup, not a lawyer. Different thing.
And after a man in a uniform searching your ass is just a couple more dollars,
Well, yeah, normally.
Talk about roadside service, yeah. But unfortunately, this is the definition of service that relates to animal husbandry rather than...
I mean, by the definition of the word, it's rape.
You're right. It's rape.
Mhm.
Well, and this just leads into what
It's rape.
Kevin was saying earlier about the laws and whatnot. Fucking 10 years ago, this would not have stood, man.
This aggression will not stand.
The dude will not abide,
No, that was 20 years ago. But, Big Lebowski, that was, that was the first Gulf War, or what,
I own 2 sets of the original Gulf War trading cards.
yeah.
Seriously, like baseball cards, like they're the trading cards. I have 2. I have so many of them. To be honest, I have 2 that are mine, and I think with my cousin's stuff that I have here, I probably have like 4.5 of them.
I haven't even heard of anything like that before.
Yeah, you see,
Oh, yeah.
they came out with like baseball cards for the Gulf War, right?
Uh-huh.
And even as a kid, I remember thinking this is insane. And my dad worked for a distribution company, and just happened to distribute some of them. So a box one day just fell off the truck.
Yeah.
Just happened to land him. I I was, I went through and put the whole sets of them together, and I separated them, and I had like 2.5 sets. I still have them, and then
and it would be baseball cards, but it would have people like Norman Schwarzkopf or
yes,
Oh yeah.
even Bush, Barbara Bush, pictures of jets, planes, guns they claim, bombs they claim they didn't use.
Oh my God! It almost seems. I mean, to me, when you describe it, it seems like it's cards for the Illuminati. It's like, hey.
Oh, you should. I'll show you. I'll show you one of the sets. One of the open ones, because I have boxes of the cards that aren't even open. They're still in packaging. But
I remember those cards. It was in a yellow. It was in a yellow and blue. Yeah, yellow and blue package.
Yep.
I think I still have a handful of them.
I have complete sets. Like I have one complete set that's in the binder. It's like that you can flip through the pages.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll let you look. You can look through that one sometime, Terry. It's pretty funny.
I'd like to. I definitely. I'm curious now. So I want to get back to David Mackenzie for a moment. Because you.
By the way, I was about to say, that in relation to the first Gulf War, I was going to be mentioning that actually, Bill Hicks used to refer to that as the Gulf distraction.
Oh.
He didn't want to refer to it as war because for a war you have to have two armies fighting. And if you notice, there wasn't much of a, the elite Republican guard that Saddam Hussein supposedly had was was not necessarily the A team, so to speak.
Yeah, there's a big there's a lot to take in about the wars and like what relationships people had to one another and why they come about and all those kind of things. For a long time I was like really super naive. When I was a little kid, I just didn't think war existed anymore. I thought like humanity was past it. I don't know how I thought that or why I thought that. I thought it was just like MASH. They go, oh yeah, that's that show MASH about a war that was our last war that we're ever gonna have, and basically they people were becoming involved because like they would just like drink martinis in their tent afterwards. And I just had this sort of, really, how does it, think about how the war is depicted to you as children on television or whatever. Like, if you look at like, John Wayne's a hero, all the World War II movies and like how everybody's such heroes and, and then you just, it just goes on and on. Then you have sitcoms, you've got sitcoms of people being in, prison camps, basically, Hogan's Heroes, you go through, and you look back at those shows and I'm like, oh my god, these are sitcoms now. They become strange. And I did a little rant about that online one time before, and some people liked it and some people didn't like what I was saying, which was kind of interesting. It's like, Doc, can't you see this? And they're like, no, I don't think I like you anymore. Okay, fine, that's fine. David, we're almost like 2 minutes away from the first hour of the show. It's always good to have people on the show that are good conversationalists. It doesn't even feel like doing one. But we were talking a little bit, and can you give us a little bit of an overview before we go into the second hour? One of the things that you mentioned was that you felt a repression in with showing hemp positively in mainstream radio and television, and.
In this case, it was even more coincidental than just references to it, rather than initially showing hemp in a positive light. Because I was just 16 years old at the time doing a radio show in northeastern Wisconsin. I wasn't campaigning for anything at the time. I just was playing a couple of records that I particularly liked. And because there were references to marijuana in both of them, in one case, I didn't even get the reference because it was the reference was in the title of the thing, and it was an instrumental piece that I wound up getting penalized by the college radio station I was at the time.
You were penalized. I'm sorry. Just the penis song just made me think he was penalized. Okay.
I was punished, which is, well, I guess there's a connotation to phalluses and that too, come to think of it. But
There's phalluses and everything. There's phalluses. It's all about the penis. And on that, we're going to take a commercial break. We'll be right back.
You've got a headache. I've got some strange disease. Don't worry about it. This pill will set your mind at ease. It's called Progenitoribox. It's made by Squab Merle Co. It's a life-enhancing miracle, but there are some things you should know. It may cause agitation, palpitations, excessive salivation, constipation, male lactation, rust-colored urination, hallucinations, mad vibrations, mild electric shock sensations, but it's worth it for the drugs I need. My disease may not be fatal, but I can ease my fears. I take in two $12 bills each day for...
Yes, if you want to talk instead of listen to that, you're welcome.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But do you want to
Gary.
Yeah.
the Fuck the DEA song?
Oh, what? The Fuck the DEA. I love Fuck the DEA song. Anything that says Fuck the DEA, let's play it.
But,
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
I mean, when I play it, do you want to hear it?
Sure.
All right, so I'm playing that right here shortly, so that you got a minute 40 seconds to talk before I play it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Anyway, the story about the anal probe story, I just figured it was a good follow after the enormous penis song.
I love the anal probe story. Yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute. Maybe it didn't fit. That's what the story's about. I just,
I don't know. I think it was a perfect fit.
Right.
No, wood. Okay.
Yeah, wood is the key word in that sentence.
No. W-O-U-L-D rather than W-O-O-D.
Okay.
Yeah. There's wood and then there's wood. Yeah, okay.
Here, you got 40 seconds to chat before I start turning on the comedy.
Okay.
Anyway, I was going to mention, Terry, on those DVDs of jazz tunes that I sent you.
Yeah.
I think there are probably about 3 or 4 dozen old 1920s, 30s, and 40s reefer tunes
Oh, wow.
that I put on there.
Okay, here.
Okay, we're back.
I mean, not back, but I mean,
Okay.
we're going to be listening as a private group.
Okay.
In a sense. All the buzz is on the hour. It's time for hemp. It's time for hemp. In an article found at the Huffington Post on October 27th, 2013, written by Ryan J. Riley, we learn a police officer cannot pull you over and arrest you just because you give that police officer the finger. A federal appeals court has declared that to be the case. In a 114-page opinion, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit ruled that the ancient gesture of insult is not the basis for a reasonable suspicion of a traffic violation or impending criminal activity. John Swartz and his wife Judy Main Swartz had sued 2 police officers who arrested Swartz in May of 2006 after he flipped off an officer who was using a radar device at an intersection in St. Johnsonville, New York. Swartz was later charged with a violation of New York's disorderly conduct statute, but the charges were dismissed on speedy trial grounds. A federal judge in Northern District Court of New York granted summary judgment to the officers in July 2011, but the Court of Appeals erased that decision and ordered the lower court to take the case again. Richard Instagona, the officer who stopped Swartz and his wife, said they arrived at their destination, claimed he pulled the couple over because he believed Swartz was trying to get my attention for some reason. The appeals court didn't buy that, ruling that the nearly universal recognition of this gesture is an insult, deprives such an interpretation of reasonableness.
Fuck the DEA. They take a medicine away. They cut off access, but our taxes paid away. They have nothing better to do, so they call the residue. From the uplands, they don't want you to consume. You think you know what's best for me? Can't you see that if you force your will, you will not change a thing? There's only inside you, but you must be reminded you are the one. Fuck the DEA. Don't listen to what they say. They think if you get drunk or take pills, it's okay. They don't wanna fuck with the sick. Are they just trying to be dicks? They're losing so much money just to get their fix. You think you know what's best for me? Can't you see that if you force your will, you will not change a thing? There's only inside you, but you must be reminded you are the one.
Welcome back to Hollywood Hemptress Hour on the Time for Hemp Network on iHeartRadio. That song was called Fuck the DEA, BYU. Fuck the DEA. Fuck the DEA! Okay. All right. By Negative Index. So that was Fuck the DEA. That's beautiful.
Still listening, and in which case, my mail.
One thing I just thought during the break, I go, when I want some hemp lube. I think like there needs to be a sex product made out of hemp, like like hemp lube. Wouldn't it be wild if you had THC, like you know how they have the flavored stuff to go down on somebody with, right? Wouldn't it be great if they just had like THC based? Is that just me or? Wow.
Hey, it's wonderful. What a wonderful notion, no pun intended.
I mean, if that comes about, like, okay, well, I'm talking about, like, maybe the hemp lube or whatever. If there's somebody out there like that, I would love to have them, like, be an advertiser for the show. I think that'd be great.
Oh, it'd make it a lot easier. You'd be able to go down without burning your old lady's, thighs and shit.
Uh-huh.
You can put the joint out,
Yeah. Or, theoretically, wouldn't it be possible to have vibrators made out of hemp plastics?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like, there could be like even like the blow up doll could be out of hemp plastic technically. I mean, if you think about everything, maybe like how many sex toys could you make out of hemp? That'd be an interesting marketing idea to have like your sex products be made out of hemp rather than plastics that are not biodegradable. Like where do you throw your vibrator out when they, you know? Do you know that countless of sea turtles and seabirds are dying because people are throwing their vibrators into the ocean?
Got our new double-headed doobie.
Right.
Oh, jeez. Is that a sausage in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Right.
Well, let's put it this way: it's not exactly Hebrew National.
So the listeners that are coming back, I just jumped right into like talking about penises again, but you are listening to the Time for Hemp Network on iHeartRadio. This is Hollywood Hemptress Hour. I'm Terry Joyce, and in studio with me is Kevin Korn from Hardcore Entertainment. Is Kevin still here?
I'm still here.
Okay, cool. I thought for a minute, I had this image go, man, he's so tired, he probably just laid his head down next to his bong and fell asleep. And I just had that image of him going, oh, shit. And North Blatt Forsgren is here also. Both are members of the show Trips, as well as myself. And we're doing that on Facebook. We're part of Hardcore Entertainment. And also we have the extraordinaire, broadcaster extraordinaire, King David Mackenzie with us. And I keep wanting to get back to the subject matter, but we were just beginning to discuss the repression of talking about marijuana on the radio or mainstream radio or mentioning hemp or whatever. When you first started to play these types of music, that were they kind of making fun of marijuana, or they were kind of tongue in cheek? Were they kind of comedic types of things that you were playing?
There was one. Actually, there were two records that I played on one of these programs that I was doing, Dr. Demento kind of things, and I later found out that Demento, in fact, also played both of these records on his show. There's one that I had a 45 of. It was released in late 1967 by Phil Oakes, who was one of the great folk singers of the Greenwich Village era.
Uh-huh.
Coming out at the same time as Bob Dylan and Peter, Paul, and Mary, and those kinds of folks. And this was a record called "Outside of a Small Circle of Friends." The fourth verse of it, the lyrics are, if I remember the lyrics exactly, smoking marijuana is more fun than drinking beer, but a friend of ours got captured and they gave him 40 years. Maybe we should raise our voices, ask somebody why, but demonstrations are a drag. Besides, I'm much too high, and I'm sure it wouldn't interest anybody outside of a small circle of friends. It was a satire essentially on social apathy. Not wanting to get involved, that kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
But that was the third or fourth verse in the record, and I was amazed A&M Records actually had the guts, even in 1967, to put that out as a single, and it was a regional hit in Seattle, in Portland, interestingly enough, in Sacramento, in Hartford, Connecticut, various different places around the country, where Oakes had a following from his early folk music days.
Kevin, you had a thought. Did you want to say something? I think you had a moment.
I think that verse actually makes perfect sense, because that's something that I've been trying to touch on. I touch on it a lot too. I think that's something that they've used marijuana for. Since pretty much the Reagan administration, the whole war on drugs, pot has been this negative thing.
Right.
They've made it negative, and they've made it like the worst. Like it's the first thing they'll lock you up, tax you on, hit you for. I mean, they'll just ruin your life over smoking pot and blame everybody else, for it. But the whole idea is now they're at this point where they know they're going to have to give it to us. I think it's all part of the agenda. See, now we're starting to see a lot more of these false flags. They're coming a lot quicker. They're coming a lot faster. They're coming a lot more blatantly, and they're not even trying to cover it up at this point. And they're doing this, and now they're look at how they're doing at these like marches. They're militarizing them. They're going to be doing this. They're getting us used to it. You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to
a certain extent,
do it.
yeah.
Like Americans will never let that happen. Well, what are they going to do when they legalize pot and everyone gets high and goes, oh man, like I would do something, but this is good weed.
Yeah, but my thought, I mean, see, that's the thing. I'm going to counter argue this for a second because not everybody that smokes weed becomes, what you would call complacent. For example, I'm probably the most hyper busiest person who smokes weed that there is, and really, if I didn't smoke weed, I actually need to slow down a moment in order to like just maintain some sort of like normalcy. Otherwise, I'd probably just run myself into the dirt. So some people are, I don't think everybody is going to like use it or have the same attitude around it. Does anybody feel that way, or is...
How long have you been smoking?
I've been smoking I started smoking at first, like I was like probably about 23, and like I did it, and then it was just something that I did like at a party once in a while. And then I probably around when I started going on the road as a comedian full time, and that was probably 1990. Then I started to smoke it when I worked with other comics in the hotel. But like I remember like smoking weed with like Ron White one time. Maybe I shouldn't be outing him, but I mean I remember just being in on the condo in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was opening, and this is like probably like 19. I mean this has got to be even, it's between like 1990 and 1995 maybe. Because I worked with him several times around that time, and we would smoke weed, and he would just make me laugh so hard, just like everything that we were talking about. And God, I think about those moments, and they're wonderful. But I smoked then, but it wasn't like a regular smoker. I was like a person who smoked when I found when it seemed right. And then it was something that I was like, okay, I just went on with my business. It wasn't like I go, well, where's my next, weed? It wasn't until probably still I started to perform up in Portland, Oregon, that I started to spend more time smoking because, the people here smoked more, and so did a lot of the comics. And I met the Mustard Man. And so, Musty and I became pals, and I would stay at his place, and we would smoke, and then all of a sudden he bought me a pipe, and then then I started doing a marijuana themed show, and then I started to smoke on a regular basis. And that was in 2007, 2006, 2007. That's when...
Is the most of the country, like especially the, all your real right wingers, like middle America, I should say, the Bible Belt, like in Nebraska where I was, a lot of them don't use drugs. A lot of them don't smoke pot. And when pot goes legal, I guarantee you they're all going to run out and try it, and they're all going to do it, and they're going to like it. And they're already not the brightest people on the planet. I'm not saying pot makes you stupid, but if you're already stupid, it's definitely not going to enhance it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a nice way of looking at it.
If it's already has terrible judgment, it's not going to make it better for them.
Yeah.
So you think that marijuana is a reason, like it's out there, they're gonna legalize it because they want us to be complacent. See, I have a theory that also they, like here's the deal. If the states don't make it recreational and make it to where it can be distributed like beer and wine and dealt with on that level, and then, completely taken out of any classification, then we're screwed. Because, if it goes to being a class 3, then that still means that we can't have it we can't grow it as our own medicine still, that the pharmaceuticals are going to own it now. And they're going to do their hybrid versions of it, or who knows. I mean, I don't know if anybody's heard about somebody. I need to research it more before I totally talk about it. This would be something that would be really great to have on as a subject matter. But I've heard of they call it Frankenweed. It's Monsanto weed.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's the feeling of that's why another friend, there's a feeling that the reason why Dr. Gupta or Sanjay Gupta is coming out and all these people are suddenly starting to talk about mainstream media is because now they're wanting to come out and control it.
Well, that just goes to prove that the government can fuck up anything. You know?
Definitely.
Washington, D.C., the dispensaries in Washington, D.C. are complaining because they are losing money. And I'm thinking, motherfucker, only politicians in Washington, D.C. can run a goddamn dispensary and lose fucking money. My grandmother, God rest her soul, could take a bag of marijuana and 2 packs of rolling papers, clear $300 to come home with 2 fucking joints, and these clowns can't make a buck? Hello?
Well, yeah. I mean, what was it that Al Cap, the great cartoonist, used to say? He was asked once if he was asked several times actually if he believed that there was intelligent life on other planets, and he said, "I hope to God so. There's damn little of it here." So,
Well, see, I feel, and here's another thing about another element of marijuana that also I feel that we forget about, is that marijuana's always kind of been associated with being rebellious. In the sense that, when you look back to the 60s, it was the reason why it became a class 1 drug is because the people who were protesting and were going up against the Vietnam War were smoking marijuana, and there was some sort of association.
Marijuana and LSD.
Yeah, well, LSD was on there too. Yes. And a lot of people talk about marijuana like it deprograms us, or it makes us so, it's like you step out of the matrix, or whatever we're watching on television and this and that, and you kind of go, wait a second, it's even, you go, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, marijuana and LSD even does it more so. I'm trying to remember if I'm trying to remember, was it Bill W.'s initial treatise in relation to Alcoholics Anonymous that he apparently, supposedly, was able to go through all 12 of those steps within a single night as a result of an LSD trip.
But there's 2 sides of the coin to this theory, and basically I'm giving one aspect of how somehow marijuana is associated with revolution, but then Kevin's saying that they're going to give it to us because they want us to be more docile human beings.
It's not even
Because
so much docile.
that's the attitude that they have about it.
It's a distraction. They're going to give you what you want to keep you complacent, not so much because we're going to be docile and slow us down. It's to keep us complacent, because it's like, how many years did we watch gay people fight to get married? As soon as all these states started giving them for the rights to get married, when's the last time you seen a gay pride parade? Okay, so now that's my whole point. Here we are all banding up. The only thing that America's even standing up, the only thing Americans agree on right now is legalizing marijuana. So you know what?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. Here's your marijuana. Now leave us alone so we can go back to playing our shadow games.
Got it. I got it. Sometimes I felt like, again, I've always somewhat correlated.
It could be a bread and circuses kind of a thing.
Oh my goodness, we need to take a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
former president of Mexico, Vicente Fox, on CNN.
I used a different,
Okie dokie. I have a 12-step marijuana program. It's exactly 12 steps between my bong and my bag.
Okay. Yeah, I can dig it. So, Kevin, you think that this could wind up being almost a bread and circuses kind of a
Absolutely. And I believe that
deal? Okay.
I believe they've been doing it purposely for probably the last 2-3 decades. They've been building it up as it's a leverage. They've used it as a leverage tool, you know. And now that they're building up a new leverage tool, then now that they've got their new tool in place, they're going to go ahead and give us this one, so we feel like we've tipped the scales.
Because, see, what a lot of people don't seem to realize is we've been out there fighting to smoke it. We've been out there to fight it for medical marijuana, and we've been fighting it to smoke it for recreational.
Yeah.
And as long as we're fighting to smoke it, they're happy. Once we start going out there to fight for industrial use of it, then
Right.
we get frightened. And so,
And that's the thing is we started by fighting for the ability to smoke it.
Yes.
We couldn't get that. So people started jumping on the medical bandwagon, you know, using it for medical purposes and whatnot. I mean, because really, let's face it. I mean, there is a majority of people out there with fucking cards that have no medical ailments that are, you know, smoking it just to get baked.
exactly what
Hey,
the marijuana movement got
you
deregulated.
don't know me.
After Jim Hare started the industrial marijuana movement, then 3 years after it started steamrolling, it began to get redirected to medical marijuana smoking. They didn't want us to go for the industrial hemp. It scared
I was just gonna say that I remember a short period of time in between there though, where Hempy's fashion was all the rage, you know.
Yep.
Hey,
And where there were little kiosks and little stores that sold fucking hemp, everything. Shit, I had a legalize it wallet for like fucking 4 years through high school.
we are coming back in
Okay.
20 seconds.
having arms and weapons coming from this nation, from the United States to Mexico. I mean, those cartels are heavily armed with guns they buy here in this market. So the responsibility of the United States is total in the case of drugs. But we are not here to blame each other. What we have to do is work together.
Welcome back to Hollywood Hemptress Hour, and in studio I have North Blatt Forsgren with me and Kevin Korn. They're co-hosting with me, as well as King David Mackenzie, and we were having quite the conversation about the agenda about the politics of legalizing marijuana, and one of the points that Kevin just brought up during the break was how, kind of making a comparison between legalizing gay marriage and the gay issue, as well as marijuana. They kind of are coincided. They go together, and they're kind of political tools to keep us distracted from what they're really doing. Is that kind of like the feeling I'm getting? Yeah.
That's absolutely what it's for. And think about it. I mean, it would buy them at least another 10 years. I mean, just the fight and arguments that would, if they did, right? Like you said, there's no stopping companies like Monsanto, the Koch brothers, and all these other people to come in. You know, you're not going to compete with Marlboro. You know what I'm saying? As far, your local grower isn't. However, it'll be just like beer. They can't. The beautiful part about plants, like we were talking about at the beginning of the show. It's a weed. It grows everywhere. There's no way they can control it. You can grow it in your house. You can grow it outside in your backyard, and it doesn't matter where you live. It'll grow. So that's
You can grow it in Jamaica. You can grow it in the Yukon. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't matter what weather conditions you live in, you can grow it. So, I mean, you can grow it in a windowsill. So, there's no way they can control it, and they know that, and that kind of scares them, because they couldn't stop.
Delete a window box. Right. Okay.
Correct. Yeah, there's no.
No, and they've gone through their fucking through the kitty, through the money. They need to find fucking avenues to fucking get money from us. They're running out of fucking options, and they're looking at this pot saying, "Holy shit, these guys have been able to regulate the fucking price of pot and keep it the same over a fucking fluctuating economy for the last 30 fucking years." I mean, really, it stayed the same for 30 fucking years, man.
Another major aspect is it's been a major underground economy that's been with no taxes. So we have successfully ran a huge underground economy that Uncle Sam has said, "Oh my God, we can't find it, we can't touch it, we don't even know where it's at."
That was my biggest bitch about the legalized movement. I was very anti-legalization because of that reason right there. It was the last form of untaxable income that you could feel morally fucking okay about. It wasn't like selling babies on the black market or nothing.
No, but what's funny about this is our government hasn't figured out how to cash in on it yet, but during the commercial break, President El Dente from Mexico, he's found out how to cash in on it.
Anyway, should we try to wrap up the...
It's not a third world country. Sure, their border towns look like that, but honestly, that's their first line of defense. You see that, and you're like, "Ooh, I don't want to go there. There must be all war. Maybe we should send another church retreat to go build them another hut real quick."
Tijuana and Juarez and those
Juarez, Reynosa, Boys Town. You got all those little places along the border. They all look like crap, and they claim that they're all drug filled, ran by gangs and cartels. Don't go, you'll be kidnapped. You know what? Go a little further down, everything starts turning into gold, and you'll start to figure out what Cortez was looking for.
So I want to get back to David, King David Mackenzie, and finish up like this one thought. So about your broadcasting.
Right.
So you had this discrimination on the song. What did they do to you? I mean, what did you experience? What backlash did you get?
That was one of the two songs that I happened to play that particular week. Another was an instrumental piece from the big band era in the 1930s, the swing band era, by Don Redman and his orchestra. Redman had been a very popular arranger for different bands, for Duke Ellington at one point, I think also for Chick Webb's band in New York, and he even did a few things for Benny Goodman. And one of his most popular compositions was something called Chant of the Weed. It's an instrumental piece, but of course, weed in this case was reefer. It was marijuana. And I happened to have played that on the same program as I did the Phil Oakes tune, Outside of a Small Circle of Friends.
Uh-huh.
This was on a radio station in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And you have to remember that Oshkosh and Appleton, the area on the northern end of Lake Winnebago, 35 to 50 miles southwest of Green Bay. That is Joe McCarthy country. Joseph McCarthy, the infamous senator that led the anti-communist witch hunts of the 1950s, is buried in Appleton. He was from a town called Little Chute, which is directly adjacent to Appleton. And so this was the area, and there's still a lot of McCarthy partisans still in that area. As a matter of fact, that's where Appleton
Appleton was where the John Birch Society had moved in the 1980s from, I believe it was somewhere in Massachusetts. They moved out to Appleton, Wisconsin, partly as a result of there was still this very friendly feeling towards a lot of the populace towards Joe McCarthy and McCarthyism. And so, this was the social climate that I was playing this record on the radio in 1977 in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, at the University of Wisconsin Oshkosh campus radio station. And so, as a result of playing the Phillips outside of a small circle of friends and Chant of the Weed by Don Britman, I wound up having half of my airtime taken away from me, specifically because there was there were a couple of people on the Oshkosh City Council who happened to have been listening at that point, and they went tapioca over hearing this reference to marijuana twice in the program, even though I was only aware of one. I was 16 years old. I didn't even realize what the weed in Chant of the Weed was referring to. I just knew I liked the record.
That's interesting that they did that to you, and then they cut half your airtime after that. I mean, before that, you're like this golden boy, and then you play like a couple pot songs, and like it's a hey, we're gonna punish you for this, for doing it. And again, you're looking at kind of a repressive era. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I found that I've had my run-ins with, mainstream radio just in wanting to advertise a marijuana-themed show on it, or even allowing their hosts that host on their show be on our show and even be associated with it. And that was the first thing that alerted to me that something wasn't right about marijuana in terms of mainstream media and the subject matter was at that moment. And the what happened to us caused such a reaction that it took even like a few years later to repair some of the relationships that actually suffered from that discrimination. People did lose their jobs over it. I mean, they did walk away from their jobs based on the discrimination of the radio station. And again, this was a radio station that played, classic rock, and it was, I don't know how to explain it, but it seems like a lot of radio stations, even now today, they will market themselves because they know that the person who's like listening to them probably is a weed smoker. I mean, like, come on, you don't tell me that, radio and television don't, market to people and know what their demographic is. And they're not going to play music now that's going to like satisfy their demographic. Everybody's like profiled. That's basically how it is. You find your audience. And the marijuana was now you see how marijuana is manipulated into it. But don't be associated in any outside production or endorse any type of outside production based on it, or you'll get chopped off. You're just basically cut off, and your opportunity for that particular event that to be successful based on the fact that you cannot advertise or be associated with them, when as an entertainer you normally are associated with them and that's part of your ticket sales, all of a sudden that doesn't happen, then financially you just go under the water.
Or even not even so much making the reference to it, especially in the corporate broadcast media, but making a contemporary reference to it, because of course if they're a classic rock station, they're already playing, I would assume, like Big Brother and the Holding Company with Janis Joplin, or Jimi Hendrix, or somebody of that nature. which is and of course those were two individuals who were historically associated with the.
Well, I mean, I think it's different to have an entertainer themselves be associated. I mean, and not it's still not. There's still a stigma to that in itself too. But when you're looking at that era, yeah, they were associated with marijuana. Yeah, marijuana was associated with John Lennon and certain entertainers. But like but it didn't. Usually, it was depicted or thrown at them in a negative light. It wasn't, it's not something that they really outwardly, I think, maybe marketed, and yet they do. I mean, it's the art itself had the feeling of being influenced by marijuana or LSD or, hallucinogenics or whatever was happening to people, what they were tripping. And so, of course, their art and whatever these types of plants do to you and your consciousness and your creativity and your connection to the earth and the planet or whatever. I mean, this is my theory, so I mean, come on, how many people that did drugs were not brilliant writers or wrote great pieces of art or music or all kinds of things, but it's not something that I think, I mean, yes, they do movies like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and yes, they do, like, we have our, seasonal, every few years, young generation pop music movie, but, but there's still a hardcore, discrimination. I mean, if you look at it, even the network that we're on right now, I mean, the fact that we're doing there's a 24-hour network now about cannabis and hemp, the fact that we're actually, Time for Hemp has been connected to iHeartRadio, is huge movement in a positive direction. And it means that, but we're still talking about the internet here. We're not talking about being on the FM radio, and but that who's to say that that's not going to happen? But then again, at this point, like, do we really need them? I mean, like, when you think about like where people are going for their I'm sorry, but I listen to the regular radio once in a while, when I can't go onto the internet, basically, because for me, like, everything that I feel that I need to be entertained by or seen or whatever I want to watch, either a friend's gonna like put it up in the trips posting, or someone's gonna show it and I'm gonna go, oh my god, what's this? I mean, I just had a friend of mine. There's an Indian actor that we talk about, and I said, I said I saw this movie. Have you seen it? It was crap, and he gave me like 3 great free movies that I could just watch on Indian films. That apparently like what we would consider to be really good. Whatever might have been the 5 Academy Award nominated films. And
Hollywood kind of thing.
it's a little bit Bollywood. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
but the one I'm watching right now, it's kind of different. It's like music happens and the music tells a storyline, but the characters aren't necessarily singing and dancing and like a musical.
Right.
So that's the first time I've ever seen it like that before. So it's pretty interesting. And by the way, to make the Indian connection, the word ganja, I've said this before, is a Sanskrit word. So basically, marijuana historically was first happened in India, over time and stuff. So, and again, if you want to talk about like using it for spiritual purposes, they do, and as well as like the Dogon tribe too. Yeah. Anyways, we're at a commercial break right now. We'll be right back, and with Kevin Korn, North Platte Forsgren, and also my friend King David McKenzie. We'll be right back.
This may sound strange, but I want to pay taxes. See, I don't drink.
After this little commercial, I will play this song, Growing Marijuana in My Yard. Do you all know that song?
Okay.
Yes, I've heard that song.
Alright. Then you don't need to hear it, or do you want to hear it when I play it?
I don't know if I've heard that one yet.
All right, well then I'll play it. And then after that, Tara, you come right back into talking.
Okay.
And then you're going to introduce your you can smoke too much weed segment, right?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. It's kind of.
Did you want me to play that right after the smoke marijuana thing?
You know what? Play it right after the smoke marijuana thing.
Okay, I'm growing marijuana in my yard. Okay, I'll play that, and then I'll play your
Okay.
much weed, and then you come back in. So here we go.
All right.
Website at norml.org.
I call this my coming out of the closet song. I'm not at all ashamed to say that I'm growing marijuana in my yard. Growing marijuana in my yard. I got little pots of pine spread out all over the lot 'cause I'm growing marijuana in my yard. Well, I got the seed from Mexico. Stuck it in some dirt and let it grow. Put it in my garden with my peppers and my peas, and I get all the smoke I need free. I'm growing marijuana in my yard. Growing marijuana in my yard. We keep it where no one can see, so let's keep this between you and me. I'm growing marijuana in my yard. Yes, I'm growing marijuana in my yard. But I can't tell my boss or I'll get fired. I don't grow much, just what I do is work all day, and when I'm through, I smoke some marijuana from my yard. Now the policeman, he wants to talk to me. He says, how you gonna smoke up all that weed? He says, money's what you're in it for. Don't you know in a war, now I'm gonna haul your ass downtown with me. I said, hey man, what is it to you? How do I infringe on what you do? Well, I beg your pardon if you're offended by my garden, but I just can't grow Prozac in my yard. So I grow my own medicine in my yard. I give some to my neighbor for his harm. Share it with my grandma, who keeps it from her son, 'cause we all know that stuff's against the law. Now there's nothing growing in my yard. 'Cause cops took all my land, both for cars. Now I have to buy my pot from a teenager in the parking lot who's growing marijuana in New York. Oh, anyone can grow it in New York. Say I can show you how, it ain't hard. Never mind the president, let's overgrow the government and all grow marijuana in our yard. Let's grow some marijuana in our yard.
One thing is that Well, welcome back to Hollywood Hemptress Hour. My name is Terry Joyce, and you are listening to Time for Hemp and on iHeartRadio, and we're going to have to really do a really explicit language on this show. That was Ben Scales. That was Ben Scales singing on the last song that you heard, Time for Hemp. Actually, Casper Leach just put in the chat line, he's actually a lawyer in Ohio, and the comedy is me, Terry Joyce, that you just listened to. That's a clip from a show that I did at Joker's Comedy Club in Richland, Washington. So we are back to the show with Kevin Korn from Hardcore Entertainment, North Blatt Forsgren from Trips. We're all from Trips because we love to trip. And also we have King David McKenzie on the show as well, radio broadcaster, radio personality. And we were talking about, one of the main topics we've been discussing throughout the night is the mainstream radio discrimination that you went through. And then I was just like sharing a little bit of my story. I want to move on a little bit. You mentioned something a little bit earlier today. And I think this might be a good topic to sort of just like end the show on. And one is you felt that also there's historical media and the mainstream media, I guess like, I don't know why I wrote historical there, that the government, it seems that the mainstream media makes, they don't seem to cover political protests. They seem to minimize them and as if they didn't exist or happen at all. And for example, David, you were telling me earlier today that the BBC got some flack for really not covering what was going on in Britain surrounding the anonymous protest.
The Million Mask March in the last couple of days, that apparently Occupy London, on their Facebook page, somebody had posted they had complained to the BBC's news department, about their not having any coverage, certainly on their terrestrial broadcast television news coverage, newscast of the London section of the Million Mask March, and wherever it was, I don't know if it was Trafalgar Square or Hyde Park or wherever it happened to have been, but they didn't do anything about it in London, and they got this note back, this email back, saying, well, there was only a few hundred in London, there were a few hundred in Denver, there were a few hundred in Sydney, and so we just didn't bother to do anything about it. Which is actually a policy that, if you think about it, goes all the way back to the Nixon White House, in the days when he had Vice President Spiro Agnew go out on these anti-media speeches, complaining about how people like Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin and the different anti-Vietnam War activists were getting FaceTime on the Walter Cronkite or Huntley and Brinkley Evening News. And by 1972, it was a situation whereby there were major anti-war demonstrations in Miami Beach at the Republican convention, but because of all of these shenanigans that Nixon and Agnew were pulling in the 4 years prior to that, ABC, NBC, and CBS said, okay, we're just going to treat these demonstrations by not treating these demonstrations. We're not even going to bother with reporting that these demonstrations are going on. We're going to ignore them. And, of course, ignoring them wound up, not making that much of a difference because partly as a result of the continuing anti-war demonstrations and later on demonstrations in relation to the Watergate scandal.
Well, I mean, I will say now that if you look at like the Occupy demonstrations that took place, or just let's not even call it Occupy. Let's talk about like the Spain and Egypt, the protesting that has happened in Egypt, in Turkey, in Spain. There's other sources that I can watch live stream of it happening. For example, the Global Illumination Council, are connected to people. That's a community that I'm involved with online, and it's called the GIC.org. I'm going to do a little plug for them.
Right.
Dr. Bernard Alvarez, he's the founder of the GIC.org. He's streaming, the protest live in Spain, but CNN is not covering any of it, none of it at all. And nobody's covering what's happening in other parts of the country. And I mean, like,
shit ton of protests that haven't been covered this year, I mean, the only reason the fucking truckers got any kind of coverage was because they stopped traffic in front of the fucking White House. Otherwise, they wouldn't have gotten any coverage either. But there was a million biker fucking march too that didn't get any coverage.
I want to ask Kevin. Were there any major networks covering the anonymous protests yesterday?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were out there, but none of it got used. None of it got used because their reporters and their vans and their stuff all was out there filming it. But when they all went back to the station, they all the word came down that they weren't supposed to run or air any of it.
So none of it was on TV at all. I mean, that was a major event.
The networks wound up sending the crews out there, but they didn't even bother to put it on the 6:30 news.
Okay, so why do you think that they're not covering any of it? Anybody have any theories on that?
Well, basically, the demonstrations are running counter to corporate interests.
Well, it's the old saying, if the tree falls in the wood, no one's there to hear it. Does the tree still fall?
Does it make a sound? Yeah.
Yep.
But here's the thing. I mean, do you feel that there's enough people now that are actually getting their information over the internet, and they're beginning to see like the lie or the illusion of that media?
No.
Well, yeah, that's part of why I myself even hesitate to use the phrase mainstream media anymore, because the internet has become the mainstream medium at this point, and broadcast television and radio and newspapers have more or less become simply corporatist media. They are no longer part of the mainstream, certainly not to the extent that they were 25, 30, 35 years ago.
Well, here's something that I just heard. I read today before the show started. I don't know if anyone knows this, but Art Bell left, I guess, Sirius Radio. Hey, did you hear about? Yeah, you heard about that?
Yeah, the Dark Matter show. It was on for a couple. They were having such technical difficulties, and Sirius wouldn't let him stream it live from his place down there in Pahrump. So.
Yeah, I mean there was like a lot of I guess there was like issues and like because of that the numbers and the listeners like dropped, and they said that Howard Stern, it's happening to Howard Stern, and that he said that basically mainstream radio is kind of dying in some ways, but what is surviving is on the internet, and also the internet subject matters surrounding conspiracy theory and aliens and stuff like that. The paranormal shows were actually the ones that were hitting large numbers on the internet.
And not even those as well. If you take a look at the response in the last year and a half that Tom Likas, with the new Normal network that he has, he's getting phenomenal response, and in fact, he has apparently more listeners now than he was on a worldwide basis than he was when he had that program that was being syndicated through CBS and Westwood One between 1994 and 2009.
Tom Likas. Well, I haven't heard his name come up in a while. That's kind of interesting. Okay, we are down to our last minute. David, is there anything that you would like to plug tonight? Anywhere that our listeners can find you?
I am on Twitter. My handle is @ultimajock, ULTIMAJOCK. That was one of the nicknames that I had when I was a radio disc jockey, and so I hung on to that as a point of reference for Twitter. I'm also, of course, on Facebook my name, I'm listed as King David, Daevid Mackenzie, Mackenzie. Daevid being a Celtic variant on the biblical name. And by the way, the nickname, I wound up getting the nickname King David in high school because I was a royal king of the ass, basically.
Well, thank you for being on the show, David. We really appreciate it. And you know what? He's a good friend to have on Facebook. So, friend request him. Kevin and Northblatt. Any plugs that we want to do before we go?
No, don't forget to call your congressman and tell him to smoke a joint.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna plug that every show. I think it's important. I think that if our Congress, our Senate would just sit down and fucking smoke a bowl together, I think there'd be a lot of changes in this country. That's all I gotta say.
Me too. What about you, Kevin? You got anything you want to plug?
Yeah, find me Hardcore Entertainment. Check that out. Find us on the internet, Twitter, Google Plus, Facebook, the whole 9 yards, and Trips.
And check out Trips.
Our Trips group just cleared 2,000 people. I think we're at 2,005 as of right now.
Oh my God, that's exciting! Wow.
800 people today.
Wow, 800. Wow, I'm Terry Joyce, and I'm a part of Trips too, so check me out. I'm also on Facebook, TERE Joyce. We also have a Hollywood Hemptress Hour Facebook page, a Freedom of Joyce Facebook page, and a Hollywood Hemptress Hour Ustream, and a Hollywood Hemptress YouTube. And also, I'm at HollywoodHemptressHour.com. Thank you for listening to the show. We'll be back next week. We gained 800 people in one day?
Yep.
Wow.
I'm on our Trips site right now.
And I haven't actually clicking on the add button. I've been getting requests, and I've been.
Yeah, me too. I signed about over 10 people today just out of requests.
Yep.
So people are listening to the show, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Terry, did you want me to hang around for the Trips after hours, or not really?
I don't know. I mean, what do you guys? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we're down with that.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And although that's a loaded question to begin with, I'm realizing. What are you gonna say? No, go to bed or something like that.
I think we're done with you, King David.
Is that how you got laid too? I know you don't want me. I know you're not interested in my dick, but maybe you.
The slideshow can handle all that, David.
Well, one thing we were talking about on the show was how internet broadcasting is leaping over AM, FM, and it's true. We're leaping over Sirius and all that. We are. Cool things are is like, as soon as I get done broadcasting us live, and we get it up into iTunes and Tumblr and SoundCloud. So all these apps are downloading us. That's one. Secondly, Secondly, if you're driving down the street and you're listening to an AM station, that's cool. And if you're not, you miss it. Whereas on programs and networks like ours, we deliver content that you want. And because you want it, you seek it out and find our archives, and golly, they're there. And you can download it and listen to it anytime, day or night that you like. So you can't do that with normally your local AM station, FM station is playing just stupid ass little music anyway. Why would you? I mean, who wants to download Justin Bieber and Madonna crap? You can find that on YouTube. So there's no interest there. So because of that, advertising dollars are getting better attention here because people are coming down to our archives, not just our network, but other networks, downloading those shows, and the advertising dollars get more oomph there. So the advertising dollars are pulling out of printed media. Circulation is coming out of printed media. The cost of print is outrageous. And then AM, FM stations are becoming passe because they're not delivering content. They're delivering mostly automated music format.
And that's why AM talk radio did so good, and it does so good, is because it's not just the same 20 songs played over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what the internet is now.
Yeah, people want to hear content.
Yeah.
However, there's also with most AM talk radio, it's so far to the right politically that one more step and they fall off the edge of the earth.
Exactly. Now it's important to have a live presentation, so we do that, and we are coming out live 24/7 as we get enough advertising dollars for another board op or two, and we will be in your face about having to end prohibition. But even though our content is being recorded and broadcast live 24/7 when that happens, it'll still be archived and found on iHeart, all those other places, and because of that, our programming and our shows will continue to get huge hits. Like right now in iTunes, we are now getting 8,000 to 10,000 hits a day, downloads a day of the time for him on different shows and so on. And on the music broadcast system, we're getting 17,000 to 20,000 people, depending on what hour it is on the website. And we have to go through a dedicated server because of all the people that are coming to our network as well as far as hosts are concerned. So
now,
like
is that on is that streaming the archive programming, or is that downloading an MP3 or MP4 of it?
Well, on iTunes it comes down in MP4, and on our other sites it comes down in MP3. So it's all downloadable, and that's what the cool thing is about iHeart. Nothing, if anything, is broadcast through iHeart Radio Live. What iHeart is somebody who can go to it and they like jazz or rock and roll or whatever, they type that in and they find all the stations and content, put it there, so when they're driving down their BMW or in their Chevrolet going to their, it's in the cars now, they can just call up their station and hit it, and then the most recent content from those areas, like Time for Hemp plays or whatever they choose, will pop up on their selected radios in their cars or on their handhelds.
Yeah, I've noticed that the last few weeks I've been talking to people and they say, "You're on iHeartRadio? Holy shit, that's big!" And man, just last year nobody knew what the fuck iHeartRadio was.
You're right. And just they had a concert in Vegas where they hosted Paul McCartney, Elton John, Bruce Springsteen, Queen, and a handful of other small town bands.
Oh, it was bigger than a handful. That fucking thing was huge.
It was. And this is iHeartRadio. And if you type in hemp and marijuana, you'll discover, as I have, there's only in iHeartRadio one venue right now, and it's me, bitch. It's me.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
That is fucking awesome.
And another thing, iHeart, when they approve content, normally they will approve content from a producer and give that producer up to no more than 4 hours of material that they can present to the iHeart community daily. they gave me station status, so I can produce 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, unlimited amount of content because they like what the fuck I do.
That's fucking cool as shit, man.
So because of that, I'm able to bring in my parade of loved ones behind me. They thought they just approved me. Ah! And you don't know I come with a fucking good-sized family.
So, and by the way, is it international access or just limited to the United States and
No,
or Canada?
It's international.
Baby.
We're all over the world.
Okay.
And here's the frustration. Apparently, in some countries outside of America, it is difficult for them to utilize the iHeart app, which is why iHeart works in association with Spreaker, because Spreaker is international. So if you know iHeart has something on it that you are in England or Canada and can't find, you just say, fuck you, iHeart, and you go to Spreaker.com and type in content you're looking for, and the content you're looking for will pop up.
Okay, so theoretically, somebody listening in Perth, West Australia, could use that instead of going directly to iHeart.com.
Exactly.
That's the pretty big in Australia.
And you can also go to timeforhemp.com, my website, hit the play button, and you listen to the most current content and find. We're going to have all of our content, all of our archives on our own website. We're actually right now building everybody's personal archives, like Tara Joy's. You click on her bio page, boom, you'll find all of her past shows there that you can find. So if you're interested in her and you want to listen to her shows, they're there on our website.
Yeah.
Be found.
And
so that'll.
Yeah.
And on top of that, people like me have already built up an international audience, which is hot. We got a huge following in Canada, Germany, and Amsterdam, and Australia. So I bring that with me. And Steve Bloom's got huge followings in Canada and Germany because he's a celeb stoner. And I've also got Mike Bafari, who's doing Time for Hemp and Spanish, all Spanish on Tuesdays and Thursdays, straight out of Spain and Argentina. He's a huge activist out of Argentina. On Friday mornings, we've got a French version with an activist straight out of Paris, France. He's broadcasting an entire program in French. And we're going to be producing German and Japanese as well here soon. And so,
by the way, just out of curiosity, the French language programming, do you know if that's getting any response in Quebec or in the Maritimes of Canada by any chance?
Actually, we are able to look at that and see exactly what countries are hitting us and where we're getting our feeds and where we're getting it. And it's amazing. The French and the Spanish show are getting huge audience followings from their homelands. And there are some people in parts of the world who are tuning in for those, but primarily in Spain, in Argentina, and over in France. And from what I understand, it's because they're so hungry for this content. No one has ever catered to them in this way. Yeah. And so because we've gone into iHeart making this message mainstream, that's what I'm told is by people in the movement is historic. And because we're doing it in so many languages under one roof, that seems to add another dimension to the historic level of what we're doing here. And
fairly similar to what used to be done with shortwave broadcasting.
Exactly.
Radio Nederland, which was the Dutch international